Live as opposed
Yes,
to
I
just
will.
it's a usual spiel.
You know what part of Sweden you're from? You're a
I
heritage?
don't.
No?
Greg, come on. Are we live? I think we're live.
I think we are. I clicked
We're
on the thing.
live. So, Valentin, welcome to the show. It's so good to have you on. Let me get back to where I can actually see my face. There we go. Whew. There we are. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm pumped.
You're in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm so pumped, but I'm drinking green tea and chilling, but I'm pumped.
So,
Miami, yeah.
tell me what you're pumped about.
I love it, man. I've not been a community guy. I've not been a group fella. I've been a nomadic, do everything on my own, right?
Mm-hmm.
So typical, do my way, do the hard way, and then I'll fix it, I'll solve it, all that kind of stuff. And I just had I had my son 2 years ago, close 2 years now, and the community part hit me like a sledgehammer. And I realized as I was being humble, the first year of knowing you're going to have a kid, and your whole world of rock and roll and riding and surfing on your bike, going down, drinking, partying, doing all this stuff, touring, just starts to soften down, and it starts to mean less and less, and your absolute focus on the most precious, your legacy, everything becomes so clear, your purpose, right?
Well, you realize, right? Well, you realize that you may know how to take care of yourself, but in order to take care of other people, you need some kind of other knowledge which you don't have access to.
Yeah. Which is taking care of yourself was the knowledge I didn't have. Right. I had no knowledge of that. I knew how to be entertaining and self-destructive, which is incredibly entertaining for other people, and it gets addictive because you get that feedback. Mm-hmm. The more, it's typical burning a rock star kind of more fire, the more you burn, and then they just sit and wait. Come on, just fucking burn, just go down, man, just go down. Like you watch your heroes riding, driving, racing, and there's their sub. People want to see burn, man, and you got to get out of that race at a certain point because they don't really. You're still entertainment. It's still experience somebody. They are not you. They don't understand what you. So yeah, I took that. I respect that. I realized that, and I backed out for the sake of my son, not to leave it, but to back out and reassess the high risk, take down the risk, and see where and what structures do I need to build up so I can start pumping that and just build an engine instead. Don't just be a bump. Build an engine and then start pumping that. The pistons. Start knowing where and how and. So that's big change.
For your son or for yourself?
For myself, so I can hand that over to my son. For myself, yeah.
Cool.
It's a selfish journey, but we do it for others. But it is, when you find the thing that you can pick the selfish things you're doing that are giving other people value as well. When you can line those where you start then you start seeing growth, right? Mm-hmm. When you're doing things that are not just truly selfish, you don't see growth. You don't see the same things. I guess you can see if somebody's managing you or somebody is, handling your entertainment of you and then putting that into streams and whatever. But the whole, for you self to be in control of it, find that balance has been a long journey for me. I would say.
It's a weird journey, like going from being from being a kid and then turning into like a selfish adult. And I think we've all done that. And then you spend you take some time and you get used to what it feels like to be a selfish adult. And then you realize that that's not getting you exactly where you think you thought you'd be going. And then you do other stuff like having kids. I mean, that's one of the things you can do. And that sort of changes the sort of the way that you look at things and everything sort of changes again. And it's infinitely fascinating because the moment you think you've got it figured out, something else happens and then everything changes again. You got to you're looking at the same, life as a human being hasn't changed significantly in the last 3,000-4,000 years.
Yeah.
But
And we like
Well,
to think
maybe the
we
last
like
3
to think we're
months.
special. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, well, they
But we like to think
about
we're
that.
special.
But-
We're oblivious to that. We don't want to acknowledge the fact that our behavior, our patterns, our group, all these things go deep on it. We do magic. I spend my whole life living in the magical world that the escapism part, where you visualize and you believe in magic, you do all this stuff, and then you start look behind how does the magicians make their tricks, and how do you do this stuff, and more and more it starts to kind of kill that. It goes from one hemisphere to the other, and it kills the emotional part of it. When you build logically and structurally, you're leaving the other place. And this is something going back and forth. I think we do that a lot. I've done that a lot. Specifically, I was born and raised from these like childhood traumas into a fiery flame of teenage years, and where, okay, in here I can just create a lot of magic, and I can believe, and I can exist in that world. And it's timeless. It's absolute timeless, and there's not a lot of accountability, because you can just make believe new things and imagine new things and create new things and do all this stuff. But then as you don't grow and you look around you can't see a lot of growth because you're not doing these things. It feels so good to be in that world, but it's irresponsible if it doesn't get managed or maintained. And it's just wildfire. It's wildfire compared to fire within an engine. So as you leave that place and go back into the logical place, the structure, the other hemisphere, it's kind of like a hero's journey, like as you go from one hemisphere to the other, and then you have to go back. But to find that center point where you have set up structures even for your creative world, you go back and forth to find the fire, put it in the engine, find the fire, put it in the engine. That's what I was trying to get at this part.
That's interesting. I like that analogy. So, hey, Valentin, let's take a step back. Can you give everybody that's watching like a quick rundown of your journey so far, like how you got right here, and then where is it that you're headed next?
I got here 10 years ago. I started coming to the US about, I would say now, 17 years ago. I've been with my wife now 17 years. I met her then. So we've been married 10 years. I came from Sweden. I was very social, democratic. I was very, this thing that people paint up as the perfect scenario, which is only working because as long as everybody's on board and everybody's working fine. But I realized I don't fit in the system. I think it's nice. It's very, they put a lot of work into it, but I had to leave. So I had to leave because I didn't fit the pot. And the vision of the U.S. was there, and my then girlfriend, the pull was very strong. So I left Sweden to go and discover America, the USA. I did this, and I was still comparing everything to Sweden. Always like this, everything in Sweden, in Sweden like this. But then I realized I was learning more and more about the US, about capitalism, everything that I've shunned and been told by my friends, and that this is bad, all this is bad, everything is negative. I start seeing that reality as I was growing older in it. So I've come from that emotional place and gone to another place. So that's been part of the journey. And now I started working then. I come as a freelancer. I come from art school and all these kind of crazy stuff. I took whatever I could to get out of real responsibilities and just be wild and free and crazy and creative, and completely messed those things up right away. Didn't go to school, wanted to be the cool guy and all these things, the funny guy. Didn't build anything at that point. So I never really got a schooling in it. So it took me off. I couldn't hold down a real job either very long. So that pushed me into freelancing, where I can design. We have 3 generations of photographer in my family. We have all these creatives. I can do this. I did that. I started a studio worked photographer. I've done design, moved into branding, more advanced, and then started taking on marketing, because when you work with freelancing and created per project stuff, to get that monthly, it's hard to get retainers on that, right? It's hard. That's steady. I then felt I had to push and learn all those difficult things, which was maintenance, structure, which was marketing pretty much. If you're going to do marketing and understand momentum and kind of maintain that, I had to push to do that. That bit by bit, I started getting more and more clients. And now I'm at the point, I think about 5 years ago, I realized I need to have my own products, because I was making products for customers and clients. I was running their marketing campaigns and doing all this branding. And I saw them making money, and I felt like but I kept getting to a point where if they weren't gone, it could easily kick me away.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Just to interject. It's
Yeah.
So 5 years ago, you realized you should make your own products. And I imagine that if you would have stopped and just made your own products, that wouldn't have taken you another 5 years. What was it between the fact that you had that sort of realization and whatever action that you're taking?
Security, it's habits. I mean, we go back to default, right? I don't know. I had good connections, and I started making a good. One is the partner I have within the Pomade company, and he's very successful, and he's been very patient on my journey coming out of freelancing, because I worked for him freelancing doing these jobs. But he saw, you need to be doing this, so he became my mentor, not for me asking, but he just kept being very patient with me and seeing, and I was asking these questions, and he said, this is what you got to do. You have to get out of this. But when the money is good.
I'm sorry. So when you say you need to get out of this, what does that mean? You need to stop freelancing. You need to start productizing.
Getting out of the addiction to salaries, right? Getting out of addictions to these like small. And if you get if I have 2 or 3 clients, 4 or 5 even, at a certain point, I have to start scaling that, and I have to start having other team members and all that. And that was not my strength either. I was a lone wolf. I still am. I work best in smaller, effective, teams. But at that point, I couldn't scale it. I couldn't scale what I was doing. And even if I would scale that, I realized, and I saw that through him, and I saw that with products, the fire I can build up with a brand. And if I can just make a couple with the automation and all the platforms we have these days, it's right there. It's so simple, right? Now all you need is the patience. As long as you set this up, now you just need the patience with building the brand and doing that correctly from the beginning. And as I was trained now through this program, was the flipping of it, the patience part. That is very hard. People want it now, or they want a couple of months later. And if they're not getting it, it took me off my path with the Pomade, for example, I'm not getting there fast enough. I'm not getting there fast enough.
I'm going to stop you again, because I'm not sure that I understand the entire context. So your background's in being a creative freelancer, and then you went in these programs that are teaching you to sort of build a business. And what you notice with that everybody's struggling with is you go from being attached to having a bunch of clients to struggling with the patience that's required in order to build your own business that's doing what?
Exactly. Well, where you own the brand.
Okay.
Where you own
the brand of what?
So the Pomade, for example, this has been the Pomade, which
What's
has been
Pomade? I'm not sure that I understand what that is.
Hair pomade. So a hair care product.
Okay, yeah.
Social cold pomade.
Yep.
Sorry, I wasn't clear about that. The pomade I have is, it's a Dead Sea mineral. It's a healthy pomade product, pretty much for men. It's water soluble. I took everything from, I looked at Layrite, I looked at Suavis.
This is because your wife's Israeli, that it's Dead Sea minerals?
This is because my partner is Israeli.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And the opportunity was there, and we discussed this about the products. And again, yes, connect to my wife. There are so many products women are using, and that we don't know how for us as guys. When we go, we just buy it because it looks cool, or it kind of holds it strong enough, and then we go around with like dandruff for years. We don't know what it is, but it's just product that's flaky, or we're getting sits and we don't know what we don't even look at the ingredients too much. So if you look at products that come maybe from women's categories, you can find extremely healthy stuff that can just be kind of like formulated a bit to men's product. And you see that happening now. They're just making it a bit more masculine, but we want health too. We're men, we need health too. And we need our products working. We don't just want to have, slap in the face and here, have some whiskey. It sounds cool, but we need healthy stuff in order to be, badasses, and to look rugged.
So you have this background. You have this background to be able to create the branding for a product brand, and you did that for a lot of other brands, and now you've started your own company and you're making a hair pomade for men. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So where are you in that process right now? It sounds like you have a product developed. Are you selling that right now? How's it going? What are you doing to push it forward?
Well, we're selling it on Amazon, selling it on Shopify, systems in place, all of that. I was promoting it mainly to barbers and just hitting the streets myself, shaking hands, showing up with the products and trying to make an impression. I did that and got some success from it, but the maintenance of that was the harder part, especially with not being able to quickly grow up a team to kind of handle it. So doing these kind of tactics that I was doing was, we ran some ads to do some direct sales to Shopify as well, and got some get very good reviews, but I think we have like 20, 30 reviews, something like that on Amazon. It turned to the point of just trying to do all these things, and I didn't see the growth fast enough. So my lack of patience in not doing it in the right order, which is a big thing. Doing things in the right order is everything, right? Otherwise so I then had a talk with Ryan on one of these live sessions with the 1%. And after I had kind of like let it all fade out, and I'm like, I know I need to pick this back up because the product is great. People love it. Everything's set in place. All now is needed is just realize in what order should I do the things. And then you can start putting that fire back into it again. But don't do it again. Do it the same way. And that's part of why I signed up for the 1% group was that. Let me ask people now. Let me just not be a hardhead, try and figure this out myself for the sake of the story or whatever I'm trying to do, whatever the underlying resistance is, not bothering people. Still there, because the whole, you got to give something before you can ask. I'm not asking anything because I'm not sure, do I give people pomade? What do I have to bring to the table to give? So I'm still hesitating on those kind of things before you get into the whole match of what do you need? What do you need? One of those things I want to do is, to skip to the side thing is, for example, I want to help others with branding. Tell people in the group, and I can say that right now, if anybody needs help with branding, I have 20 years of experience with this and worked with brands internationally. And if you need help looking at stuff, I'll be happy to do it. No charge, not just for being in this group. I'll help you look through that stuff. So that's my give.
Okay, that's a huge ass give. You should just do a single post in the group and say just that. Say that you've got tons of experience, that you've helped a lot of successful brands develop their brand, and that you're willing to give people pointers and advice for free.
Yeah.
And then post your question. But that's a huge give because most of the people here we're just learning that on the fly, right? So we'll get Like, we don't know about branding. Somebody will get a logo
we could use
Fiverr
branding.
They'll take some pictures with their cell phone. I mean, and it makes sense to start quickly and to start basically. But if you're building a real brand, at some point you need a good logo, you need a good packaging and color scheme. I mean, it has to be cohesive. It has to be a brand. And a lot of us in the group don't have that experience. So if you're willing to share your experience and knowledge, that's huge. I would definitely mention that. And I think anytime you have an ask or a question, people will be happy to help you out.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. Then I'll do that. I think that's so one of those big things where for example, my chaos life that I've lived, absolutely dopamine junkie when it comes to new experiences, finding yourself. This trauma, like we all have the trauma. Something happened in our childhood to determine who we are, or to drive us in one way or the other. And we can run as fast as we want. It still comes with us. We're still super, focused on or organized because we had maybe a very strict father, or we had an abusive alcoholic father. So we now became the opposite. So whatever it is, those things set us in place. Mine was, I grew up without a father, and I searched for a father. I'm being very open and honest because that's what I want to do in this group. That fueled my search. It took me on my journey, but I had no idea I was going on a journey. I just ran aggressively. My brother went inward, shut him down. So on that journey, just chaos, that looking for guidance, looking for leaders, looking for discipline, but at the same time rebelling against it. Creates this kind of constant fiery fury, kind of like you move into one place, but eventually you get a dopamine kick out of it. I need a new thing. I need new stuff. I need new rushes, new places, new experience. I need to be somebody else. This, over the decades, had me become so many people. It had me affiliate myself with so many types of personalities, looking for myself. And I think a lot of us do this. We look for ourselves in so many people. My extremeness in this is what kept fueling into me going into branding, because I can relate to an astronaut, a surgeon, an outlaw biker, a drug addict on the street. I could understand them. I could emotionally, because I've been there in my mind. I've dove in so deep into those experiences, almost as in that escapism, where
because you could identify it, because it was a form of escape. Meaning, if you go and identify as an astronaut as opposed to being the son of your father,
yeah,
I mean that's being an astronaut's a hell of a lot easier than being right.
A son of a father exactly. You have those things where you can't. The only way to solve it, which was their resolution to coming home in that whole hero's journey, is I have a great relationship with my father now, and we are almost accountability. The healing journey coming back to it. Now you can use all those things that you look back and looked at like, man, I know so much, and this is an entrepreneur a lot of times. I know so many things, and we look down upon and like, jack of all trades, master of none. But you can be a master of so many trades. You can really push up that. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a bad thing that you know a lot of stuff. But on the marketplace where I just need one. I just need this. And all these things. It's very hard to sell that. But when somebody comes and asks you, hey, can you be our entrepreneur in this company? We need somebody who has that with the specific things. Now you're a good manager as a creative man, director or something. That now you become very powerful. So that, yeah.
I mean, you just mentioned, I gotta hold this up. This is what you mentioned, right?
The hero
Joseph Campbell.
Okay.
The hero's verse. This is where if you're wondering what Star Wars came from, it's from that book. That's what George Lucas read, and then he realized that he wanted to tell a modern. what's it called? A modern legend of sort of something that's happening. It's something that all of us experience as we're going through life, is like you said, like this hero's journey. How do you go from you're just starting out and you think you got everything figured out, and then life slaps you in your face and you realize that you know nothing, and now you've got to go through hell or whatever, and then you come out the other end, and in the end it's about you figuring out how to deal with the fact that you and your father are actually very, very alike.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the whole.
It's very simple. Once you get to the completion of that journey, you go, now you have to deal with something else. How many years was I out there? And that's the Homer's, the whole. How many years was I out at sea before I came home to this conclusion? And the greatest gift to give my son, sorry about that. I mean,
No worries.
my greatest gift I can give to my son or other young freelancers or entrepreneurs is, how can I make this more visible and understandable at an earlier place, so they have 20 years more, 30 years more to work on this empire they want to build. And that becomes, now we start going away from like, okay, now you're doing a product and you realize this product is not enough.
So I'm curious. You said you'd been a lone wolf for a long time when we started this conversation, and you recently discovered community. And we talked a little bit about sort of your background, and we talked about sort of the product you're trying to promote, but I'm struggling to understand where it is that you're stuck and what that has to do with discovering community. I'm only asking that because I'm trying to figure out, is there like a connection here? We're having a very interesting conversation, but I'm trying to, like, where would you like to be like 10 years from now?
I think I would like to be in a place of, I'm now at a place of peace. I feel more peaceful than I've ever been in my life. I'm happy. I'm happy because I have my son. I'm happy that I understand these things now. The place I would like to be in 10 years is, I want to have more. I want to raise up, lift him up, and lift up as much as possible, where not necessarily money. He's going to have to make his own money. I'm not just going to throw money and give him money, but to have even more.
More for what?
More of a platform of knowledge for him to kind of stand on. And that's a good question, the why, because it sounds like more like I'm snorting information and just getting now I'm just, it's very interesting why at a certain point is that, why do we want more, right? Why do we want more all the time? At what point is...
You tell me.
Yeah.
Why do you want more? Why do you want more for your son? Forget about you. Why do you want more for your son? He has everything he needs right now, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think it's a place of the risk, right? The risk of if those things disappear, the more I have, the safer I am if things get taken away, if things happen. So I think it's just a safety bit, not having more money for him to build a bigger company. From here's $1 million to start the company, but having more of the more safer I can have, more safer financially I can be.
So Valentine, I'm connecting some dots here, and I want to throw them out there and see if this is on point or not. I posted a link to a book that I think is fantastic in the Facebook version of this chat.
Yeah.
And it's called Range. And it talks about how people with a broad scope of knowledge will oftentimes do far better in the long run than people that specialize in one thing. And so what you've described is you've acquired this broad range of knowledge and experiences, and you have this creative drive and passion that kind of underlies all that you do. And so what you have right now is you have this skill set that lets you turn an idea into an actual thing in terms of a brand. And you want to apply that skill set to something that's yours instead of somebody else's. And you just, I'm wondering if subconsciously you see this as the opportunity to like put together everything that you've acquired over the years in terms of knowledge and experience, and to turn it into a thing. So,
that's what's giving me when you say those. It's everything, right? We want to, and we hesitate a lot. I feel I've been stepping up. I'm ready to jump off the cliff in faith. I'm doing it. I'm absolutely, but you do small little jumps. You feel like you're kind of running towards the cliff, but you're still like, I haven't made the absolute jump. When do you make that jump? When have you acquired enough?
What's the jump that you struggle with making right now? What's the next jump you need to take that you're unsure of taking?
I think community is one of those things. Getting more people around, especially when you're alone, you get a lot of feed. You know, it just bounces. It's echoes. It's not feedback. It's just echoes in your head. So getting a bit more validation, being in groups where, so I'm gonna draw the. I've been a musician my whole life. Played in bands, perfect little groups. Everybody knows their place, and you work as a team together to get a good sound out and all this stuff. So they're good. And you got a member that messes up, kick them out, get a new one in. You build teams, right? You're building a company. You're doing there you go, brother. I like it. That's a Gibson.
No. It's a Les Paul. Yeah, no,
it's
not a Les. It's the other one. I can't remember what it is. The one that Gibson bought. I can't remember what.
You got a saxophone too, man.
Of course. No, I started with the saxophone.
I like it.
Everything else is what I learned to play when my kids were little and I couldn't make a lot of noise.
I have a good friend of mine. He's a country artist. He took a step, and the moment this was about 5 years ago as well. He took a step going towards, I'm going to go in. We were going on a drive up to Kentucky. And he told me, man, I'm going to go all in. And this is the point where I'm going more entrepreneur. No. You're not going to make money there. So I'm thinking like, you're crazy. What do you mean all in on music? Too old for this shit. Like you're 35. You're going to go all in? But he said, I'm going to go all in. I don't care. I'll die if I don't go all in. So I said, well, you do that, man. But I can't go all in. I've done all in. I've done all this stuff. And it's very like, you burn. And if you don't, you end up kind of like a professional athlete at the end where you're like, I'm just going to become a trainer now, or I didn't reach my goals. We've come so far with my band. Band is called Nixa, and we got into Rolling Stones magazine with our latest release. We got 4 out of 5. We got a big feature in the middle of the magazine. And I'm super. You feel very proud about that. You feel like, well, this matters. Now you get that feedback from it, but we're not out touring. We're not doing any of that kind of stuff. So I feel like you can do both. You can do both. You don't have to go all in and stop looking at just like, I'm not going to take a job. I'm just going to focus doing music, doing all this stuff. No, you need to make this last.
I have to say, Valentin, a lot of the stuff that you've been saying in the last like 5-10 minutes is making my bullshit meters go off like crazy. And I'll explain what I mean. You talk about wanting security and wanting certainty, when I think from the way that you've lived your life, you know that the surefire way to feel half dead is certainty and knowing exactly what's going to come next.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, and it's a perpetual fear of death in those things. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So why is it that you are wishing this perpetual fear of death onto your son by surrounding him with certainty?
Fucking love it, man. Yeah, go.
No, why?
I love it.
Why are you chasing this when very obviously the thing that you've learned from life, and it's very difficult because a lot of the reason people that chase certainty is because of fear. right? Because they want to know what to expect tomorrow. But if you know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, then you're not going to feel any different than you are from today. So if you feel that today is not fulfilling, the only thing you know is that tomorrow will be as unfulfilling as today.
Yeah.
On the other hand, when you don't know what the fuck's going to happen tomorrow, it might be good, it might be bad, and it's a roller coaster. And it takes a lot of guts to ride that roller coaster all the time. You get tired. You do that, like you said, you're 25, 30, that's fine. You start hitting 35, 40, you start thinking, I'm getting too old for this shit. When what I think is what you need to do is connect to what it means to take those chances and adapt it to wherever you are in your life. But you don't ever, I mean, if certain, it depends on the kind of person you are, but if certainty is what, it depends on whether certainty turns you on or turns you off.
It turns me off.
Okay, so then stop. So don't go there. Don't go there, dude, because you're going to be fucking miserable, and you're just going to be the bitter old man. You'll build everything for your son, right? I'm just making. I'm like wild generation.
And then I'll end up being resentful.
And you'll hate him for being the privileged little fuck that expects to get everything handed to him, or whatever it is.
Yeah. I like it, man. I really appreciate that feedback. It's part of so what happened in that trip when we went up to, this is the initial journey when we go up, we talk about, and I couldn't understand it. As I'm going back from this journey, it was a 16-hour drive up in an old beaten up truck to Kentucky. And as we're sitting up there and we're drinking whiskey, smoking a pot, making a little music, hanging out, it starts to come back to me, all those things. And I understand why. But I also understand that I have to continuously, my body has to be working with growing my business, fulfilling, maintaining. If I can't maintain, then you fight till you find somebody who can maintain. And if you can't employ, you don't know, then you figure that out. But your body keeps marching. But my spirit and my mind is still like, you are a musician. You don't ever stop. You can't leave music. I left music 1 year. I left music completely. It's an empty year, cold year. And after that, I felt lost. I didn't know who I was. Yeah. And I got this like, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur in my family. I never had any entrepreneurs.
But Greg, where is Valentin stuck? What kind of business is he trying to do? That's what, right?
Okay.
Do you know? Because I don't know.
I got a few things. So if you want to push the Pomade product and brand forward, we can help you do that. The 1% can help you do that.
Yeah.
And I think you have potential. You have potential there because you're absolutely right. There's a gap in the market where men want a product that works but is not toxic or has some sort of weird disadvantage, like products flaking all over you like dandruff. Like I totally get that. So there's an opportunity there. But it sounds like you kind of feel this obligation to push that forward just because it is you recognize the opportunity, but I don't sense a ton of passion behind it. Your passion is about all the other things that you've talked about. You love music, right?
Yeah.
It's a part of your soul. So what I would say is if you can incorporate the passion that you have in some of these other interests, if you can find something to be passionate about in the pomade business, you're gonna do really well, right? Because then we can lay out some tactics, like here's how you get it ranked on Amazon, here's how you do some Facebook ads and build a community to sell this to. I mean, it's just a blueprint, and you can do that, but you're not going to do it if you're not driven, if you're not excited about what it is that you're going to create beyond the fact that it's going to be some cash flow, right? Yeah. That it creates some security financially. Yeah. So one thing that I would kind of, so you mentioned your band being like doing pretty well right now. I'm curious, what does your fan base look like? Do you have any means of communication with your fan base for your band?
Yes, we have, but it's been it's been something where being stuck in these two worlds is where I'm not pursuing and pushing it. I'm at a comfortable place where I'm like, you know what? It's a studio project.
Sure.
Take some place to play. To go out and tour constantly, I'm not interested. That's not what to get out and get that. I know that I get easily become you get easily addicted to it. That's what happens. You get out.
I totally understand. So do you have a way to communicate with them though that's not person to person? I mean, do you have like an Instagram page or a website where people can interact with you in some way?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I think I'm hesitating with music and pushing it on the social and doing the same kind of marketing that I do for other customers with music. Is I'm very afraid of making that into a job, creating that into the place where I'm structuring it up and I'm sitting and doing admin work and pushing and run.
Right.
And also the kind of pressures that come with, now you have all these people, hey, you got to come play, you got to do this. Making the dream actually come true as a musician. Now, when I have a product, which is not me, you can scale that up to 1 billion or whatever. And it's not going to be, it's just going to be, I can have somebody. When it comes to music, I have to make this, I have to go. And a lot of times I'm going to get pushed to a limit. Hey, you need to go and play now. You need to show yourself. You have to do these things, or you're hesitating. And the more you do those things, the less time you're going to have for that stuff that is bringing in money. So being stuck in that's where I am with the passion.
You want to keep music a passion. You don't want to make music a job.
I feel so. I feel confident in, I don't have to make, like I said, if I make money, and I stay in power and control of that.
Okay. So is there a way to utilize your music fan base, maybe to help kind of kickstart the Pomade? Could you say, hey, just so you guys know, I'm doing this other thing on the side. It's this really great product. And if you happen to be a fan of our music, if you I don't know, here's 10% off to pick it up on Amazon, and then take a picture on Instagram and tag our band in it, or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if you want to cross-pollinate those two things, but one of the ways to kind of kickstart sales of a product is if you have people that know and like you, you can send them to pick up the product. I don't know if that feels dirty.
Dirty, very dirty. And especially I think where it's come from and where the way I approach it is, if I don't want to sell anybody anything there. And if I present a product, I feel like it's lessening me as an artist.
Okay.
The battle, then that's why artists don't want to sell out. And that's why selling out is a bad thing. And you have that thing where it has to happen in the back end, very smoothly and automatically and effortlessly. And that's where good branding comes in, where they buy it, purchase, and they repurchase. And it doesn't feel like you're being sold stuff. So I haven't done that with the band. We did that with the latest release. I put a lot more effort into it. But it it starts to hitting on that like, man, dude, you're making this that now. And then when you start, but it's as you can see, I'm conflicted about these things.
I know I'm seeing the same conflict that you had that I mentioned before about where now what you're saying is selling is so this is something that a lot of people have. Selling is sleazy. Selling isn't sleazy. Selling shitty stuff is sleazy. Now, if your pomade's good, you should be willing to sell it to anybody. And I'm not saying this like that's very easy for me to say, right? But if you reach out to if you believe that your pomade's good and you reach out to your music audience and said, hey guys, whoever's using pomade, I've just spent this amount of effort to come up with a really, really good product. If you would like to try like really good pomade and you like what I'm doing, try out whatever. I don't know what your pomade's called. Blah, blah, blah pomade. That should not, that should feel like, that should feel great because you know you're giving them good product. If it makes you feel like shit, then you need to improve your product.
Yeah, I agree, and I can agree with so, and that's the branding thing. When you have built up a specific, and the brands are not correlating with who you are as a personality. I might be a guy who likes rock and very deep stuff, and too. I might listen to doom music and be very dark kind of, and then I'm very open and social and kind of like funny, comical things too. If I'm now presenting, and I think that's where I come to a point where I think my ultimate product and whatever I am going to with this knowledge I have that's coming, it's becoming very clear now what I need to do as I restart something. It's kind of like I know what I'm going to do with the next album now because I'm going to change this and that, and that's going to make this perfect. It's going to be more me, our sound, and where we are. So I think the pomade is good, but it just doesn't fit in with that brand. It would just make that brand look because it's too.
I think you're wrong. Look at Newman's Own. Look at something as stupid as Newman's Own. Okay, Paul Newman, movie actor, knew nothing about making pasta sauces and sauces for salad. But slapped his face onto stuff, and it was fine. There's no problem.
With an actor, it's an actor who his job is to be all these faces and to be when a band.
What the fuck? I'm sorry. How is that different between being a musician or a human being? Like Paul Newman wasn't tomato sauces and salad sauces. He was like a person. Nobody thought, Paul Newman came to an interview. Oh, Caesar salad. Yeah. There he goes. That's Newman's own brand of coffee, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that he slapped his face on. Nobody thought about that when he went to an interview. On the other hand, when you went to the supermarket, you said, "Oh, that's the guy with the really great blue eyes," and I like the way that he played Billy the Kid and jumped off that cliff, and he was great on that show with what have you. I'll give it a try.
I see what you mean. I just think there's a fine tune when for example, it depends on the actor as well. You have Paul Newman, and then you have another type of actor. You have Marlon Brando, or you have like Dennis Hopper.
Did he make pasta sauce ever? I don't think he did.
No, because you have Paul Newman. He had another type of ambiance around him as a brand. So I think that fits him. If you had Marlon Brando pasta or like Dennis Hopper crackers, it's not gonna.
It would have worked just fine, especially because.
But it wouldn't have affected his, and that's where.
I think you're investing. I think you're investing too much of your it's.
I kind of agree.
What with me or with Valentin?
With Valentine, like
awesome. Okay.
A little bit, right?
Maybe I'm wrong.
But it's just it doesn't have to be. It is. The market is what the market is, and if you have built up that relationship with it, and then you start
you're right. So let me ask you this: what
selling pasta? It looks
what
weird.
Product would fit? Like if you said you're not entirely sure the pomade fits, what product would fit? What do you see as being the right product?
For example, my photography. So I'm 3 generations of photographers. Have had a resistance there as well. I've been publicized in magazines.
Yeah, it takes beautiful pictures. It really does.
And then the thank you. And then the now it's my first. I turned 40. My first exhibition is going to be in Little Havana, and I decided I love this spot in Miami. It's my most favorite place, and I got an opportunity, and I got asked would you like to exhibit your photography here? And I said, you know what, the time has come for me to just stop it, man. That's what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing as an homage to my heritage and where I come from. And yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take pride in it. I'm going to have my photography. It's black and white. It's timeless. It's of cultures. It's from Cumbe Mayo in Peru to motorcycles to Cherokee Nation, but it's just capturing these timeless moments where you can't tell what decade is this in. So that's kind of like the concept. I'm doing that, and that I can present because it has the depth artistically. That kind of connects with a band like my band there, of the progressive heavy nature and the meaning of it. So that I can correlate with that.
Okay.
Or if I'm designing other album art, that I can correlate with that as well, which I do that as well. So things work. Now if I bring a pomade in, it doesn't work the same way. It doesn't work the same way. Possibly, I can sell wine at a point, But
so now I now have a question. So you mentioned a bunch of things which you connect to, and then you have this product which you're dancing around.
Constant, yeah.
Why why pomade?
Yeah.
Why?
Why pomade? Opportunity. Yeah. Opportunity was
okay,
there.
So all you're trying to do is make money off of it?
It's something I wear myself. It's not a bad product. I'm not trying just to make product. I know that it's, for me, of course, I know that bringing this product into the world, it's better than the products that I've mentioned because I have.
So then why do you struggle with it?
Well, now the struggle has been, I'm trying to push it in the wrong, pushing it hands on myself, letting go of control to, for example, mastering influencer marketing. Taking those steps where like you have to get into, and that's the thing I'm taking now, actionable steps. I need the 10,000, below influencers. I need to send this out to them. I need to have, I've already got the 10 fans that are getting me pictures and before and after. So all this, I'm putting that into place. So I do believe in it enough where I'm like, of course I'm going to be working with that. I also have 2 more products. I have a beard oil and a black monk shampoo. So it is expanding. But again, for me to go in and be absolutely passionate as much as I am about music, if I do that, if I do the same amount of passion here, this shit will blow the fuck up. Or I will lose control of it, or I'll just end up designing and branding, because then I love branding. I don't get passionate about building momentum or maintaining or let's just make this as systematically approach it logically scalable as possible. That doesn't tickle any of my I struggle and fight with those, but I do them because I have to. I have to, because then I take also that back to my art. And use it, but I use it accordingly.
So you said you have a partner in the pomade business?
Yes.
So what do they do? What's their role in the company?
He handles the manufacturing and the fulfillment, which is my fulfillment part. Is you can have me sit on something for 3 months. If somebody buys a T-shirt or a pomade and I'm going to send it out, it doesn't get sent out. It just doesn't.
So you do more like the marketing, the creative pieces,
the experience, the visual experience,
the
audio experience, all those things that makes you like, I like that, connected. It's cool. This is me.
His partner's bald, that's why.
So how much, like once you get this going, how much active involvement? I mean, if he's kind of doing the operations, it sounds like once you have a product created and the listing is up and you have a sales strategy that's working consistently, I mean, how much more do you have to engage with it? I mean, can you kind of take a step back at that point?
Absolutely. That's my out. Not to sell it. I mean, I guess of course, if somebody comes with enough money, take it. I'll make something new. But that's my goal, to dig myself out. Of where it's enough. Like, okay, I can get to that place, but I got to dig a lot more to get there, and setting those things in place where I can back, and I sense that freedom, and I've taken those breaths where I feel more freedom to, like, I got through it. I actually employed somebody and that person is working here, or I have that system in place. Now I have a maintainer here. And I've sensed those things and I feel those things. I know they're there, which I've never existed. I never knew that before. And I feel freedom, and I feel the new freedom, the rebirth is me getting out from that place. And out of that place, the fire.
I have another question. So you said you're really uncomfortable using your music audience to try to push the pomade. That just, it feels like garbage. You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, if you, I don't know how much you are like in front of this brand. I don't know how much, I don't know if you're a part of the face of the brand, like if you show up in the marketing or anything like that, but I'm wondering if, would you be comfortable maybe doing a little bit of that, like kind of revealing who you are and what your interests are, saying like, I have this band and I do this photography and this and that. And not that you're trying to use the photography audience or the band audience to push the pomade, but telling the pomade people who you are. So that this is like, and it helps to kind of, like, I haven't seen the branding, so I don't know who this is really for. But if you wanted to kind of position this as a pomade product for people like you, right? People that are like dopamine junkies, like, we're creative. We've got to be doing the next new thing, right? And just like show some images of you doing these other things that you're doing. I don't know if that's quite as.
I did do this, and that's was part of why I started to kind of also taper off. I was riding motorcycles. I was out there partying, being in all these places myself. So it's part of kind of like that whole don't create, just document to get content. And I was documenting. But then during this time, my son came into the picture, and I'm not blaming him, but I started to go down to it and the content and the documentation. And eventually I'm like, I just got to post. The concept behind it was pretty much, I started finding these pictures of these old vintage mugshots, right? So you go to jail, you still gotta look good. If you're a badass outlaw, if you still, you got a teeth knocked out and a blue, but your hair still looks good. So so the whole idea was take all of these mugshots you have, that all public records and all, like, you can use them as much as you want, and then start posting that and have as many outlaws as possible. So with that, I'm still doing that. But there's only so many. Now, I was infusing into that the documentation of like, hey, we're out here, we're riding, we're living the lifestyle. This is why now the influencer thing has become so important, where like, hey, you know what? First of all, I'm not going to put myself out and present to be I'm going to be that like pomade dude in the front, living the lifestyle. Now, but I know there's thousands and thousands of influencers that would love to be those people, right? They can represent the brand aggressively and to their people. So if I get them on board, I can have them strengthen that.
So you want to keep that kind of that feel and image that you kind of started, but you don't want to have to be doing that because you can't be that guy right now. It's kind of what it sounds like. So you need some other people to step in and to showcase who this brand is for, and that's kind of the stage that you're at right now.
Yeah, and it's more scalable because I can only, like, if I have to up and get more and more following and get more and more interest around what I'm doing. If I have all these other people doing it, the strength of that community is what is going to be way more powerful than whatever I can do on my own. I think, for example, with the Pomade, if I went out and I did these, non-PC attitude kind of podcast, and I just say what I want and start making a lot of ruckus, exit through the gift shop. That's the other, but then I got to make a lot of noise and I got to be ready to get a lot of heat, which is something where going through this fatherhood initially is like, I don't want to hurt business. And there's so much stuff. Do I make a side? What do I do? You hesitate. You have opinions. And my opinions are, if I'm not a radical center, an extreme centrist, I'm leaning more towards the right as I've grown older. And especially with my background coming from Sweden to the US, I'm now a capitalist because I understand it's true freedom. It is absolute, and it's your responsibility. It's all those things. If you're a badass, you have to be here. So those are my things that, as you can see, they complicate this moving forward to like, well, just go, just start talking, start going, and then they'll exit through the gift shop. and I start creating these artificial, complicated kind of variations of systems instead of having that pure aligned.
So Valentin, what's a thing that you could do like in the next week that would move you along?
Get those people, like start getting those, start putting in the system to push to get them out. Get the people out. Get your people that's going to be talking about the brand more than I am.
What's
since I don't have
stopping
the time. Clients, other obligations. I'm doing a bit too much other stuff. So which is just bad 80-20 kind of management on my part.
So it sounds to me like decide on what deserves your attention in the coming week. And it doesn't have to be the pomade. And give that all of your attention. And then whenever the pomade deserves your attention, give it 80% of your attention.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. Cool. We started something on midweek now once, and I never done it. And accountability. I got a buddy. Accountability.
Accountability is the shit. This is the best possible thing you could do. The next thing I have to do with Greg is start texting him at 5:30 in the morning, telling him all the stuff that I'm getting up to, which I'm not at the moment. I'm sleeping at 5:30. But that's the next level is and you know when you're really getting it is when I won't need Greg and I can just say to myself, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow morning, and I just do it. But until I get to that point, then Greg will keep me honest.
And if Greg doesn't show up for one of those accountability meetings, you still go. It's like that gym buddy, right?
Oh, sure. And then I'll give him endless shit, but he's always there. I'm the one that's screwing up.
Yeah, I ran from those things before. I love it now. I love it.
Do you have an accountability partner?
I do. I have two. I have one for health and one for
good for you.
A couple of pillars: family, finance, and
fantastic.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, this has been incredibly interesting, I got to say, Valentin. I was excited coming into this conversation, and it has not disappointed. It sounds to me like the next time we meet, you need to bring a guitar and a bunch of bourbon, and hopefully we'll be able to get on a plane. Because if you come to, I live in Jersey, if you come here, someone's going to stick you in quarantine for 2 weeks. Yeah, that's not going to work out. And if I come visit you, I got to go to quarantine for 2 weeks. So that's not going to work out too. But one of these days, that's going to work itself out, and we'll be able to hang out. I'm really looking forward to it. That'd be badass, man. Yeah, absolutely. I'll bring my saxophone.
Dude, I can't wait to hear that saxophone. That looks badass, man. You play saxophone, man.
Yeah, badly. Not very well, but it doesn't matter. A bad saxophone sounds great too.
Yeah.
There's just nothing. There's nothing bad you can do with a tenor saxophone.
No, man. You make it big down here in Miami, man. It's the city of sax.
Right.
All right, Valentin.
I apologize. I know it's been very broad, and I jumped, and this is one of those. It's very broad.
This is fun.
It's interesting to watch sometimes, but it's also very stick to the point, and this part of the messaging branding as well. Like I would love to be more out on, and that's what I look to learn from people like yourself and Ryan and these communities is structure your message, but first get your alignment in order for what you actually want to tell people and why, and then start working on these things, because it's very fulfilling. I've noticed that just like with music and being on stage and creating music, being like coaching and being in communities and being the energy giver in these places, being a part of that, you get the same kind of vibes. You get pumped up, you get like energized. And when people are actually giving feedback about it, man, we love it. Now you got that full circle of synergy. Yeah. And that's a good dope you can take a lot of, you know.
So the one thing that took me the longest time to understand is that in order to really enjoy improvising, is you have to practice scales all the time. And if you practice licks and scales all the time, then improvising becomes easy. You don't have to think about it. You just sort of feel the way the music needs to go, right? But you got to do a lot of like practical shit. And it's the same in everything else.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm doing now. I'm practicing licks.
So go in the shed. Exactly. Go practice licks, go in the shed and commit to the process.
Yeah.
And be there and be willing to fuck up in public. There is so much power to being willing to fuck up in public because everybody pretends to be perfect.
Yeah.
And the more vulnerable you're willing to be in public, the more you're going to connect with people. And the more you connect with people, the more willing they will be to give you their money. That's it.
Please post in the group in the next day or two what we discussed, that basically you're a branding expert and you're willing to give people tips and pointers. Just post that with no ask.
Yeah.
And we'll be sure to make sure that people see that, because I think we've had pretty infrequent interaction so far, and this has been a great conversation, and you have so much to offer to other people on similar journeys. And I think when you start helping other people in the group with the skill set that you have, you're going to be shocked by the help and love that comes in from the other people helping to kind of push you forward too. That's the experience I've had in this group. So I would say jump in. People are going to see this and they're going to be super interested in hearing more about your story, your product, and the skill set that you have. So
make it happen.
Cool. Well, Valentin, thank you so much for hopping on with us. This was awesome.
It was great, brother.
Very good. I feel like we're old buddies already, and that's how it should be.
That's right. All right, man. Take care.
All right, you guys too. Have a great one. Thank you.
Bye.